Good afternoon, guys. I see there's a few attendees that's joined already. Welcome. We're just waiting for 4 o'clock South African time to start with the meeting. I see there's a couple of people joining quickly now. We're just giving it a minute more before we join and start with the session. Right, excellent. I think thanks everybody for joining. It's just after 4 Thursday afternoon here in South Africa. Thanks a lot for joining us. This is the second of our product updates, quarterly product updates for the OnKey EAM this year in 2025. Just want to remind those guys that perhaps didn't join our first session. We'll post the link to that in the chat for this webinar if you want to have a look at that. And then I want to ask, if there's any questions, please pop your questions into the Q&A section of the tool. We'll have a look there and we'll keep on answering the questions throughout the session as it goes on. Then I want to welcome everybody from our product management team here. Christy JP de Kooker, who's looking after our insights and intelligence parts of the product. John van Meulen, the core EAM. Marissa looks after the integration parts. Simon looks after our sector-specific solutions, the product packs. And then Darren looks after the connect part, our IoT side of the product. And then lastly, Maurits Astron looking at the OnKey Action apps. So the program for today, I'm going to step on here. We'll first, just for those that haven't been to the previous sessions and just to give an overview again, a quick overview of the product suite, just to understand everything that OnKey consists of. And then we're going to step through some updates of each of the product areas of features that we released in the recent months. and then also give a little bit of a peek in terms of new features that's coming up in the near future. Right, so quickly giving a bit of an overview. If we look at the OnKey Enterprise Asset Management APM platform, the main components, firstly, there's a bunch of user interfaces that we'll get into for physical people to interact with the system, and then also a programming interface, that everything that can be done through the user interfaces can also be done programmatically in the system. Main components, the Intelligent Asset Register, that's everything to do with your asset information, the asset types, maintenance plans, information around the availability of the asset, conditions, tasks, setup, documents. You can see there's a long list of everything that's important information around the actual assets. Then the next part is the asset operation part, which looks at the usage of the asset, understanding meters, to track the use of the assets, that to trigger maintenance tasks. It looks after consumables like fuel and oil. And then also you'll see a little bit of that, the overall equipment effectiveness, things that's coming up in that space. So everything to do with the operation of the asset. Then financials, the master data and transactional data to keep track of costs around your assets and work being completed on the assets. The materials part, all the materials necessary to perform work, the requisitioning of the material, issue and returning, spare parts for work orders, the issue and return, also the goods receiving, taking stock, all those type of things that's necessary to operate a good technical warehouse that supports your EAM. Then the next one is the resources. So that's everything in terms of human and special resources necessary to perform work. So, the different types, the competencies, rates for those, the calendars of availability, and then also tracking service level agreements around that. And then the important other part is then the actual execution of work. So incoming work requests, work orders, everything to do with, getting work done from electronic forms that could be used for permits and risk clearance forms, etc. The tasks that needs to be executed, root cause analysis. You can see there's a whole bunch of those items there. And then lastly, many general items in terms of setting up the system to deal with multi-site capabilities, locations, time zones, and then also all the details required to control access permissions to the system. And then a couple of other things like extension of the product with additional fields on tables, custom queries, etc. So if we take all this now and then look at what sits around it, in the first place, there's user interfaces for people to interact with the system. And like I mentioned earlier, programming interface, if you want to integrate this into your larger enterprise architecture. We also have the ability to build integrations and automations around the system. And Marissa will talk a little bit about that in terms of new features there. The edge to cloud connect part, that's the IoT that Darren will be bringing up to speed with new features there. That's really listening to changes on the assets and using that to trigger actions within the system. Dashboards and reports, JP will touch on that. And then together with us also the more advanced analytics. And then also, talking about the different artificial intelligence capabilities, and we'll share a little bit about what's happening in that side as well, as far as the product's concerned. We now pivot this to just, another way, look at what all this consists of. So in the first place, OnKey provides a very comprehensive system of records for all your asset management information, together with the necessary business logic to make sure that the data within the system is well organized and that there's good quality data that can then be used to do your asset management actions with. We mentioned the user interfaces. So the core product's got a very extensive user interface to deal with master data setup and a number of the transactions that you can process through that red core user interface. And then there's a couple of focused apps coming with the product as well to specifically deal with specific roles, for instance, your clients, condition of the asset, tracking the asset, using the Asset Pulse app. Other ones included here that's important, for instance, the Field Engineer app used for execution management of the work orders to get the actual maintenance instructions to your technicians and keeping track of the tasks they complete with spare parts and everything that goes along with that. Next is, all this information that we're collecting, providing different means to analyze that. There's a bunch of standard insights apps that we use for analytics that contains pre-built and pre-configured asset management best practice KPIs, also with the ability to build custom insights app in this platform. And then also alongside that, the standard reports, your more traditional scheduled reports that would go with the product, for management reports, at the end of weeks or months, and also recently introduced now, the ability to introduce some real-time dashboards through this capability as well. And then together with the core product, on the programming side of it, extensive programming interface, documentation, and everything that you'll need to build integrations to put OnKey in place in the rest of your enterprise architecture. And then the IoT side, as I mentioned already, there is everything from connecting from the sensors on the edge through the IoT platform, feeding data into OnKey, and Darren will also expand a little bit on that in terms of data storage, data lakes, and things that's possible there. And then in the middle part is really the integration of OnKey with other enterprise applications. And you can see there's just a couple of examples of integrations built in the past. This capability really makes it possible for us to integrate OnKey deep into clients' processes and making sure that transactions flow, without human intervention, and that there's low friction in terms of getting data in and out of the system. And then lastly, there's a couple of initiatives that we've got underway in terms of artificial intelligence, and we'll share a little bit about what is happening in that area as well during today. Right, so that's a brief overview of the product. We're going to get into, sorry, I forget the important part. Lastly, this is quite a big picture of a lot of capabilities that OnKey provides. And as we've mentioned in the past, what we started doing is we've packaged for specific industry verticals solutions that is a pre-configured blueprint, if you like, of the product that is suited for different industry sectors, asset-intensive industries, commercial facilities, and then also for asset management services around, using OnKey for providing those services. Right, so then stepping now next to the core product, I'll just remind you as well that, if there's any of this information that you would like to have a look at, this information can also be found in our website, www.onkey.com. There's a lot of this information, case studies, and other information that you can access there. Right. In terms of locations, at this stage, in terms of hosting, if we provide OnKey to clients as a software as a service, there's an environment in North Europe through which we serve all the European and international clients, and then also in South Africa for our African clients, where we host the solution as a software as a service. And then there's a couple of deployments as well across the world through which we service other clients. Right, then, John, I'm going to step over to you now for the core product. You can just tell me when you're ready, and then I'll get going for us. Thank you.
I'm ready. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Hi, everybody. John from Eden here. I'm the product owner of the core system. We started this year quite excitingly, bulk import capability. It's a feature that many of our clients have been waiting for, and it's just a basic way to get a lot of data into the system very quickly. In our previous system, OnKey 5, it was an external tool, and you had to do quite a bit of work to get it in, working with from Excel to TAD Limited, and then authentication. It had to be on some type of server, but now we've embedded it into the system. And if you logged in, you can use it. We got auto-generated import schemas of all the entities that you can work with in the system, and you basically press a button, it pushes out an Excel spreadsheet, and that's your template. You put in your data there, and then you drag and drop it back into the system, and that imports the data. So it's very easy to use. You can import, easy master data items in, one by one or bulk, but you can also get, more advanced items where you can import a whole asset register. So you can do a audit import, or you can, where you can first import one entity and then obviously import the child, which is reliant on the previous entity, and order that whole import. So you can import large structures into your system, or you can just import normal data. It uses the import API, which we enhanced a lot for this for the use of this. But also we extended it that if you use the API, the normal API import, you can also use these structures to import and not go with the other variant, which is the JSON import. So quite a popular feature. We're very excited to release it, and there's got a lot of people that's already started using it. And yeah, as I said, it was very much needed feature in the system, and that we've released in the beginning of January. Stefan, the next one. Then we got the asset warranties. So it's also a feature that we had in the previous product that many people still wanted. And that just boils down to that if you bought a new asset and you don't want people to do reactive work on it, then you can set up asset warranties on your asset and decide how strict you want to be, if you just want to show warnings or be very strict. And if somebody then generates a work order and that asset is under warranty, it will stop the work order generation process or the manual creation of a work order and tell you that this is under warranty. It can also point you then to the suppliers of that asset. So in order to easily phone them and get people out to do the work. So you can be strict and stop it right there, or you can go in a warning mode where you just warn the person of that there's a warranty on, and then they can decide if they still need to do work or not. Next one, Stefan. Long text in dashboard. So there's many places on the UI where you got a grid and you have long text, long descriptions inside those columns, inside those rows and those cells. And for you to really read it, you had to all drag the slide bar of that column to the right, or you had to double click and open it to go and read that information. So it extended it quite nicely where you can just click on a little chevron that's next to that cell. It opens up the whole text for you and can even translate it from there and copy and paste it. For you to very quickly, read, number one, what's going on there, but secondly, you don't have to, open up and go to a different record to see what's in there, and that's across the system. So wherever we got these long text fields, that will be available. The tree search enhancements. So many people use that tree search, and more complex trees, where people start using options and rules. And also our more mature clients, there's a lot of items there that's inactive or reevaluation failed. Sometimes when people search, they don't find the item, or it finds the item but it doesn't take you to the tree, and you first have to go to your properties panel, then go and switch on the toggle to say I may view a deleted confirmed, or I may view an inactive item, and then you could search and go there. So we streamlined that so that if you do find a record and you want to navigate to the tree where that record is, it will automatically switch on those toggles for you. We released that in the previous release, but we're enhancing it a bit still in this current release we're building to just take it a bit further. Inspection tasks as a follow-up task. That's an interesting one. In the OnKey 5 days, we were very strict that if you have an inspection task, say a pass-fail task or a condition monitoring task, that if you can only have one level deep follow-up task on it. So if that inspection task fails, then the follow-up task had to be done. But many people, especially with the condition monitoring coming in, have got a auto condition monitoring task, and then that readings come in and the task fails. And it switches on an alarm. The alarm says something went wrong, but then they don't want to immediately do the reactive work on it. They want to basically first send out a person then to really go and do an inspection with the right meters or whatever they use to look at it, and then, or the right tools, and then decide if it really did fail, and then have a follow-up. So you can cascade your follow-ups now, so that if you can say, if something fails, go check again. If it fails again, then do the following work. So we just opened up that logic a bit, which is going to make it quite interesting for people to not have it all or nothing, but to just have a few levels before they really start doing the work. Next one. So that was the features we dropped in this first quarter and a half of this year. The next ones we are working on is quite exciting, is the OEE module. So in OnKey, in the previous version, we had a OEE module, and we did it via log sheets. We're still doing the same there. We're putting in the log sheets and let people capture all the information that happened on a shift, all the downtime, what products were developed, or were they good quality, bad quality. We're extending it a bit to the mining industry as well, where you can capture additional information and maybe not just have one type of product that you capture, but capture, especially in the mining, how much they've cut into the earth, the velocity, what it should have been, what they did to it. So just some extra options to capture. And then the second part of that, we want to then capture the calculations. Previously, the calculations were done in a BI model, but we want to capture that information and keep it there as the system of record, where you can calculate all those the TEEPs and the OEEs and all that information from all the downtime and products that's been developed in the system, in that shift. It's a nice, exciting product. It's nice to see the full circle, that not just doing the maintenance and doing the maintenance plan, but actually seeing the effect of it on the performance of the asset. Is the asset actually performing well enough, compared to your maintenance plans and your maintenance costing? Another one, multi-screen landing page. That's quite a nice. Currently, if you land in OnKey's first page, the home page, it's just a blank page, and then you need to navigate to wherever you want to be. And what we've given there is a place. You start with the open canvas, and you decide, how many panels do you want, and in each panel you can put in a tree or a dashboard of your choice. You can load it with a profile. On the left-hand side there, it's a bit small, but you can then basically put down text and also like hyperlinks, to frequently use dashboards. And it's quite nice. So if you can set up a whole page now, which when the person lands on it, it's tailored for his or her work. Things that they normally look at first thing in the morning. Show me all work orders that breakdowns in the evening, or show me all work orders that weren't completed yesterday. Show the asset tree and the asset type tree that I can navigate through that. Each one is interactable, so if I double click on the record, it still opens up the edit screens and all that. And there's little shortcut buttons that if you press it, it takes you actually to that real dashboard with the profile loaded. You save this whole thing as a profile, put it in operational role. You can add it as a default, that when the person lands, that is what they see. And then you've got the quick links at the left-hand side. You can put it on any panel you want, where you can still go to additional dashboards that you frequently go to, and you can name them and call them your own, personalize that. So it's a nice UI enhancement to just land on something significant in your first page, rather than landing on a blank page and then deciding where you would want to go. The next one, Stefan, yeah, that's the last one. We've got a few clients, especially clients that are quite using the asset type tree quite a lot, and kind of in the head office space, they would decide what's the maintenance plans of an asset and the whole structure of the asset and manage it from that point of view. But we get more and more clients that say, yes, I got the asset, I'm subscribing to the type side, but sometimes I want to start really customizing my asset. I want to stop being getting information from the type side and overwriting my changes. So you can unsubscribe the asset now, in the next release, and then keep it more control how in the way that you want it. But if you get to a point where you decide no, you want to subscribe again, you can do that. You can basically start subscribing again, or you can do a full overwrite and reset it back to the original asset type. So it's where asset owners wants to be guided but not totally controlled by the type side. So that part we're also bringing. Stefan, I think that's the last one.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. And yeah, maybe just to mention as well, I mean, what we're trying to do here is just highlight a couple of the main features that was released in the past and that's coming up now. I think what we can do as well is, for those that's not, don't get it already, just get the release note as well for the product. There's actually a long list of other very valuable smaller features that comes with every release. So we'll make sure that we get those to you as well. But yeah, thanks so much, John. I think very exciting.
Yeah, there's about 25 to 30 features we normally release per release. So much more extensive than this. So we're just touching on some of the highlights. I think
Absolutely.
last time I spoke was SLAs, which was a big one. But since then, I think it's about 2 releases we've had. So there's quite a lot of features back then.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, and I think very excited that we're getting to the OEE part as well again, with asset performance, ultimately one of the big things that we're driving, being able to keep track of your actual performance of the asset, is it delivering the outputs that you're expecting, so looking forward to that. And then a couple of really valuable, functionalities already in the version 15 release that came out earlier this quarter. So thanks so much. Let's step on then. Thank you, Johan. Maurits, if you're ready, then I'm going to switch over to you.
Yes, I'm ready, Stefan.
Taking us through. This is a lot of the planning around the work, but at some point the work needs to get done, and we need to make sure that the right guys get the work in their hands to get done. So Maurits, looking forward to your part. So
Okay,
yes, there we go.
Okay, so the first slide is just, as Stefan mentioned as well, obviously just highlighting some of the main features and updates that we've deployed in the past couple of months. So I think that the biggest one is probably the Field Engineer app improvement. So the Field Engineer app is the one app that is used for work execution, especially in the field, and it's got offline capabilities. So we basically changed 3 major things in the app. The first thing is that the UI components were overhauled. So you'll see on the right that the UI is a lot more modern than it used to be, and aligned with quite a few standards, international standards, and UI feedback that we received from external audits. So there's the UI components that were changed. Then we also changed the app to it's not really a single page application. It's a 2-page application. But what that just means is that when you navigate between different areas of the app, it's not a new screen that loads every time. It's basically just replacing certain elements in the screen. And the reason we did that is because we found that on low-end devices, because we're doing such complex work in the app and in the background, some of the lower-end devices were struggling to keep up. So with the single-page application, we're really using a lot fewer resources, and it just feels like a smoother app. And then the big one is probably the redesigned sync process. So we did follow let's call it a recommended sync process in the platform, but we saw that the way that we're using the app, we kind of doing things unnecessarily. So we took that out and we basically ripped it apart and started adding things back that were valuable. And with that, we got a 30 to 40% improvement in download time, saving as well, and upload times. And I have to say that at certain clients, depending on the data that you're using in the app, it could even be better than that. So where typically before it might take 40 seconds to download a work order to your device, it could take less than 20 seconds now. So that's quite a major improvement. And as I mentioned, we deployed that last night. It was quite a push, but I think the guys got it into production really well. And the feedback that we've received so far has been great. Thanks, Ivan. Perfect. And then the second one is the shared improvement. So yeah, we typically put in improvements or updates that would be rolled out to all the different apps. So what we're focusing on here is the new login component. So it's only been implemented in the search request app, but the idea is that this will get rolled out to all the other apps. It seems like a simple improvement, but we've removed quite a few clicks in the login process, and we've also added quite a few validations on login. So what we found in the past is because the system is so configurable, sometimes there were setup issues with users or authentication, and then you would only realize that once you're in the app. So we moved all of that validation into the login process, so you would not be able to get into the app with the incorrect configuration, and the messages that we give you on how to correct that have also been extended quite a bit. So this should make it easier to get into the apps, and if you can't get into the app, also show you why you can't get in. Thanks, Stefan. Okay, and then just looking at a few things coming in the next couple of months. The new translation mechanism, JP will touch on that, but we're making use of the Anki Intelligence auto translation API. So what this means is that the entire language set for an app. At the moment, it's only implemented in the Field Engineer app, but it can be extended to other apps as well. But the entire language set, so all the labels in the app, can be translated to a new phrase, to a new language with the click of a button. So if we, for example, wanted to add Spanish, we would be able to add the Spanish language, and all the labels in the app would be translated to Spanish as well, using the context-sensitive translation API that JP will mention later. Thanks, Stefan. Oh, sorry, maybe just on the translations, to make it easier to set up the different translations, especially for clients that have testing and production environments. These translations can now be shared across environments as well. So you can set it up in one environment, and the production environment will kind of inherit those translations automatically as well. So where you have custom or client-specific translations, if you want to call an asset a piece of equipment, or a work order job card, then you can set that up in one place, and it will kind of cascade down to the other environments as well. Then the new file handler component, so just basically modernize the file handler. This is what we use to get attachments or any documents really into the apps. We've got better validation at source, making sure that you've got the right file types, that they're the right size, and improved compression as well. That's been put in. And then also something that's quite exciting, especially for desktop, is that you can now paste directly from your clipboard. So if you take a screenshot of something, you can just come to the app and paste it, and it will pull that in automatically. And then the last one, I'm hoping the next webinar that we've got, I can share some exciting news on this, is the introduction of the views concept. So basically having a context-sensitive view of the work order. So based on, for example, the type of work, the status, whatever it might be, you could show different information on that work order. So this will be implemented into the work portal and into the service request app. But for example, if you have a work order in a planning phase, then you might want to see the task, or might not want to see the task. You might not want to see labor yet, but in a later phase, you can then add labor, you can add tasks, you can add whatever you want to. And the nice thing is that this will also be managed in a central place, so you can share it across different apps. So once you've set up a view, that can be used in the search request app and linked to multiple conditions, and it can also, that very same view can be used in the work portal as well, and linked to different conditions there. Okay, I think that's it, Stefan.
Brilliant, thanks, Moritz. Yeah, I must say, very excited about the new Field Engineer app that you guys are introducing. I think there's literally thousands of users of that capability. So I think, and a very important part of actually getting things done. So I think that's going to make a big difference. And as I look at this screen, I must say what's for me personally very exciting is this middle section of drag and drop images into the service request, as we use this for ticket logging and everything within Pragma as well. And maybe while we're on that, this is also something that we will in the near future start making available externally to clients to log service requests, that you don't need to just interact with us through email. So, once this becomes available, it's also going to become much easier for clients then, to actually put more information around the different service requests that they want to put in. So, yeah, a bunch of very important and interesting things. Thanks a lot, Moritz, and for the action team. Really, really excited about all this.
Thanks.
Right, then let me step on to the next one then. Darren, if you're ready, I'm going to hand over to you then. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so on QNX, this is the technology that includes IoT to support maintenance tactics like conditional or predictive-based maintenance. Yeah, so the features I want to highlight here, firstly, is the data lake. So we have a data lake to support your analytics or your machine learning initiatives. And this is where we store high volumes of IoT data. And there's a data lake available to support this. And the changes that we made over here is we made changes to the underlying technology used to collect the data and then write that into the data lake, so the data pipeline. And this reduced the cost significantly, as well as improved the performance on this. Thank you. Next one. Okay, then the next one is it's a custom solution that was developed For our internal company asset health management, this is to support a quick service restaurant clients where they needed to get their chicken fries state or operating state identified automatically. And yeah, the current sensors were used over there, as well as a algorithm to automatically identify. So either identified in a running state or an on state or fry or filter state. And what is important over here is if you don't optimally filter the oil, and then it impacts the quality of the product, or you can over filter the oil as well. So if you can identify the filter state and see what the duration is of the frying states, then you can trigger an alarm to say that the oil needs to be filtered after a couple of frying cycles. Yeah, and this was also an integration to a Google Cloud platform. And yeah, so that was a really exciting feature that we released over there. Okay, what's coming up? So firstly, we want to support another brand of IoT devices called Sunoff. So it's a more affordable brand of IoT devices, specifically for the facilities management space where there's a distribution of assets. And we want to develop a module that integrates with the eWeLink platform, and then collect that data and make that available on the IoT platform. The next one is a MQTT transformation module. So we have a IoT edge gateway, and this gateway has a couple of modules. We already have an MQTT module, but it only collects raw data and then makes that available in Anki. But we want to also transform that raw data. So if you need to scale some of the values, this MQTT transformation module will do exactly that. Okay, the next one is dry contact alarms. So if you want to use the I/O ports of the gateway, so in other words, if there's another external system, if you want to monitor the alarms of some controller or some device, you can pull that into the gateway and also make that available and send that output to Anki. And then the last one is I/O extension model. So it's a hardware that we're currently evaluating. And now there are some cases where you want to monitor a couple of phenomena on an asset. If I can use an example, if you want to monitor temperature as well as a door contact status and current, you don't want to only use wireless devices for something that is measured in close proximity. So you want an I/O extension module where you can wire a couple of sensors onto this module and then push that data to the environment or to the IoT environment. And we're looking at a really nice device that can do all of that. Yeah, so that should be available quite soon. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Darren. Yeah, great update. Yeah, and I think as we see more automation and assets being integrated into the system, this part of Anki really remains critical, and we're seeing more and more demand for this. And it's interesting as well to see the bit of machine learning that you guys introduced in terms of detecting state, etc. So I think we're certainly expecting to see more of those in the time to come. Right. So then stepping over now there to the next part. Marissa, if you're ready, I'm going to hand over you to take us quickly to the new integration capabilities that you guys did on.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Stefan. So first, I will start with what we recently released, which is we successfully deployed an integration between Anki and Business Central, which is part of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 suite. So this integration seamlessly handles purchase orders, goods receipts and returns, requisition issues and returns. So in this setup, Anki serves as the master source of transactional data, ensuring a consistent and centralized control. And then we also have a standard CISPRO 8 solution. The solution syncs master data from CISPRO to Anki And then the transactional data flow consists of requests for stock and spares that originates in OnKey. And then after the approval, procurement and receipts happen in Syspro. And then the actual cost and usage data are then integrated back to OnKey. Next slide, Stefan. So for our upcoming integrations, it is an OnKey Sage X3 integration where the master data resides in OnKey, in Sage, and the transactional data flow from OnKey to Sage. And then next we have a OnKey Omni interface, similar where the master data syncs from Omni to OnKey, and then the transactional flows mainly from the MM app, the Material Manager app, going to Omni again. And then lastly, we have a OnKey SAP interface. This interface enables seamless integration of requisitions from OnKey to SAP. And that is it from the integrate side.
Brilliant. Thank you, Marissa. And I think, guys, we're sharing this, I think for two reasons. I mean, there is the standard integrations that's available that we can really quickly out of the box for certain clients, ramp up integration. But it's also to show the breadth of the integration capabilities of the team and OnKey's capability of integrating with various other systems through this approach. So and in this way of working, we also systematically building up more and more standard integration flows, which makes it easy and possible for us to then in future build new integrations. So although not all of these are available as standard products, I think it's to just highlight to clients and reassure them that there's literally nothing that OnKey cannot integrate with through this platform. I think we've over the time proven that is quite a strong capability, and it's even with complicated systems like SAP, where we now have a couple of successful integrations in various types of the SAP system. So thanks a lot, Marissa. Great stuff. Stepping over there now to Simone for our sector-specific solutions. Simone, if you're ready. Then,
to go. Thanks, Stefan.
Get going here. Here we go.
Thank you. Right, so Pragma's sector-specific solutions, or industry vertical product packs, as we also refer to them, are aimed at our lower maturity client, but actually really just to standardize implementations and also to eliminate inefficiencies and save time. So the aim is to put down a pre-configured solution that the client can start using much sooner and much easier. In terms of our commercial facility solution, we've done two main improvements during this release cycle. We've added a very useful solution description document detailing the user stories of the different users that are involved in the solution. So for example, the facility manager, what is the facility manager's role in this solution, and what are the inputs and outputs? What is the facility manager's requirements, and how do we meet these requirements in this solution? And we detail all the different personas or users that use the system and the different roles and their requirements in the story. Then also we've added a whole library of standard triggers and notification templates that the client can choose to use or not, also to make the implementation easier and also to have good examples of properly set up notifications in the system. Thanks, Stefan. Then in terms of our asset-intensive facility solution, which is aimed at our mining and heavy manufacturing clients, this is really where the bulk of the effort we spent the bulk of the effort for this release in this area. In terms of our template database, we've expanded the asset care plan library that we have in this solution quite considerably. There's a whole library of asset types available with the breakdown of components and all the asset care plans that are required to maintain these assets. And then these asset types can then be selected and used by the client as required. Thank you, Stefan. Then we've also just created a solution summary one-pager for the solution, which makes it easy for the client to understand what is included in this solution and also for our marketing team to use. And then lastly, we've also added a library of notifications and triggers. As I also mentioned for the commercial facility solution, these are the emails that can be triggered based on transactions that are triggered within the system. And then for our next release cycle, things that we're working on in terms of commercial facilities, we will be adding SLA, service level agreement templates that can be used as is, which will also make implementation much easier and will provide good examples of these SLAs. And then also we want to improve the work order, create, edit, and feedback profiles to make it more slick and easy for users to interact with the system. Then in terms of our asset-intensive facility solution, we will further extend the asset care plan library with more fixed asset care plans. We will also add a pre-configured template, terms and conditions that the client can use to trigger the users need to accept these terms and conditions before they use the system. So there are different types. For example, terms and conditions relating to the POPI Act that can be used. Then we want to improve some of the pre-configured data. We want to expand our unit of measurement library, for example. We will also develop training material for the asset-intensive facility solution. There'll be slide-based training material and also videos. And then also we want to improve the work order, create, edit, and feedback profiles for the solution. Thanks, Stefan.
Excellent. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, and I think, this has been around for a while now, and the content continues to be expanded, and certainly seeing massive improvements in terms of the, time to value for clients. Once we start with the project, I think, Simon, there's hardly a new implementation now that gets done without, this type of content available. So it really cuts down a lot on the time to actually get going with your on-key implementation. So great work around. So, all right, then JP, it's going to be over to you then for the next two ones around intelligence.
Thanks, Stefan. Yeah, I'm going to share on a specific feature that we've worked on recently, and that's really readily available in production for clients that request this. I'm not going to go into much more detail. There is a lot happening in this space, and we have various initiatives currently already in progress. So I'm going to definitely take up a bit more bandwidth on the next release and keep a few exciting features for then. For today, however, I'm going to talk about our context-sensitive AI translation capability. What this is all about is having the ability to translate the on-key plus user interface or task or component descriptions, as well as apps, as Maurits mentioned earlier, to a specific language, but with the added value that the translation service is actually context aware of the enterprise asset management area and industry. So the translations will be aligned with what one would expect it to be in the target translation. The supported languages are essentially built up using existing industry knowledge and industry context, and those translations are then made directly in the on-key user interface or the action apps, as mentioned earlier. The reports are also then based on some of these translations in the system. So certain reports are also then translated at the point of running the reports. What we've already seen is this adding a lot of value to some of the standard on-key functionality of having translations in there. There's a very strong functionality of having translations in there, but then within the question of 1 or 2 days, having a fully translated system with the added capability of actually continuous translations in the system as new descriptions, tasks, etc. Gets added to the system. So yeah, already adding a lot of value in here. This is an ad hoc service, so we deliver it or deploy it as an add-on to OnKey, and then you have your system and phrase translations translated to the language or languages of your choice. Okay. Next up, the insights and reporting space. A few small additions or improvements that we've made here. Stefan, you can just go to the detail slide. So we've added a few Vine training videos. The Vine platform being shipped with OnKey has a lot of functionality and developer. You can actually develop your own reports or customize some of the standard reports, make a copy of the standard reports, and then make customizations depending on your client or your needs at that point. And we've developed a few Vine training videos that now actually goes through some of the detail in terms of what you need to do to make customizations to existing reports. And this also includes a few best practices as to how you get data from OnKey and how you use that data in certain reports. These knowledge videos are available in our knowledge zone at the moment. So if you need those, reach out to us and we can make those formally available to you. We're also working to get these into the Pragma LMS as soon as possible so that you can actually register for it externally. The second one there, the work order report, by far the report that is used the most from the OnKey UI. It's the report just stating all of the detail for that specific work order as well as tasks associated to it. We made a change there to also include standard tasks for non-technical type work orders. We've seen that people actually start using a non-technical work order similar to a tactical work order in the sense of adding detailed tasks that the artisan or the contractor should actually give feedback on. And those non-technical tasks, the clients wanted to start including in the work order report. So the standard work order report from version 14 and 15 now has the non-technical tasks included with the detail at the bottom. Then on the insights, that I actually wanted to mention the insights part. So we also made a few, that's why I actually didn't add it here, but the work management insights, we also made a few small improvements, and that came through yesterday. So I think that's why I didn't add it in here. We weren't sure if that was going to be delivered yet, but it's in, and a few very nice improvements in there. I'll share the detail in the next quarterly update. Thanks, Stefan.
Excellent, thank you, JP. Yeah, and I think maybe just while we're on this slide, the built-in reporting capability with OnKey, that OnKey Plus, that's something we made effort to integrate, whereas in the past it was challenging for clients to do some small updates on the reports, and then we found that once it became available, clients didn't find it so easy to actually understand how to do it. So seeing that this training material is now becoming available, hopefully that will help clients a lot to actually keep the reports and small changes up to date and do it themselves much easier. In terms of, JP mentioned it earlier on, in terms of the intelligence projects, there's certainly a lot of things happening at the moment in that space, with the rapid pace at which various artificial intelligence and large language models and things are starting to find their way into products like enterprise asset management systems. So looking forward, there's a couple of initiatives on our side going on at the moment. Looking forward to share more with that and our thinking in future in terms of how that's going to fit into the product to drive automation and forecasting and anomaly detection and various other types of capabilities, even down to supporting the product better. So there's a bunch of those things that's currently in one or other way in the works. So we'll certainly schedule around next time to share a little bit more on that part as well. And then I see we've done a little bit earlier. So perhaps there's opportunity for if there's one or two additional questions. I don't know Em or Lisa, is there any questions that came up that we perhaps need to deal with while we're here?
None that I've seen. Lisa, anything on your end?
No, I think we can just maybe say that we will be sending out the recording as well as the presentation on either Friday or Monday. So please have a look out for it if you are eager to share it with colleagues. Thank you.
Brilliant. Yeah, then I want to say thank you to everybody that made the time to join. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to the next round. When we can share, next round of updates with you guys in terms of what we made available. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and the rest of the day for the guys on the America side.